Okay, listen up. I know my office is a mess right now, but you don't know that. Okay, now you do. But normally, you wouldn't because of composition, framing, and the way that the background is keyed. So today, we're going to learn the 3 key methods to key for your background. Technique is not being taught anymore. While it's great that we have filters and plugins and presets and all these things to fix it later, and it's less great that we fix things with AI fill and slop, but what's even more great is when we get it right in the camera and we get it right in editing. Okay, so even right here in my messy corner of the office, I'm isolating myself by keying the background. I have the big little octo box here, a little B light here, a little blue light kind of throwing a little color separation onto the background, which you don't necessarily have to have, but color is another way to separate. Okay, hold on a hot second. What do we mean by key light? Well, the key light is the primary light in the scene. So before we get to keying the background, we need to understand that the key light could be a little light, it could be a big strobe, it could be the sun like it is right now. The problem is most of the time when they show you key light, they show you this traditional studio setup with a softbox over here to the right. But the key light is going to be your most dominant light. So I could throw up all kinds of images in here that came out nicely where the key light just kind of helped balance things out and we were keying for the background. A key light exists even if you're not doing portraits. You've seen photos or experienced photos yourself where your key light isn't working in your favor, right? You have harsh sun or you have the background that's illuminated brighter than your subject. Right now, for example, the sun is my key light. To make something else my key light, I have to make another light that's brighter in relation to me. So I just threw this part in so that we know that the key light is neither good nor bad, and it's not necessarily something sitting on a light stand. It can be really bright and really harsh. It can be dappled by things around it. It can be lighting the background more, and so then you push that light up to light your subject, and you lose control of your background. The key with your key light is balancing, keying for your background, knowing what you're taking a photo of, and then making the whole thing work together. And that's what we're going to look at right now. What do we mean by key for the background? Because this term isn't heard that much anymore. I think it was the late, great Ken Whitmire that really emphasized keying the background when I was studying wall portrait. This was one of my biggest family portraits, and I had to shoot it in like 11 in the morning sunlight with all these people. So in this case, keying for the background was pumping massive amounts of strobe light to essentially overpower the sun so I could darken the overall exposure enough to not lose the sky in the background and show the family's ranch. Now this might seem like a lot of work, but the final output of the photo was this 70-inch canvas on their wall, and the sale from this portrait session was $7,000. So now it doesn't sound like so much work. Now, before you click away and say, okay, keying for the background is just about putting some flash in the foreground and separating your subject. Well, I'm going to give you some tips that take it a lot further than that. You see, keying for the background could be a flash, it could be sunlight, it could be the way you position the subject so that light is just bouncing or streaking off from somewhere. But it's not even always about making the background darker. Let's take a look at this photo. The flash didn't fire, the light's pretty soft, late afternoon, things are fairly evenly lit. But in this case, I would normally key the background a little more in post. That is to say, I've already ran a film preset from Filmist on this, and it looks pretty good. By the way, I'll link some of the free film presets from Filmist 2 in the comments, as well as the other tools and actions and things I used on this. That's the extent of sponsorship for this video. So let's create a mask. So you can totally do this manually just by taking a background mask. A lot of times I would do like a combo portrait mask that in skin details, but to illustrate the point, I'm just going to do this background fader from Elegant Speed Masks. Look what happens. Now look what we did. We just made a background selection mask that isolates the subject from the background. You can do this in Lightroom, you can do this in Capture One automatically. You can of course do this manually with burning or dodging or layers in Photoshop, even subject select in Photoshop. But typically this level of edit I will do at the raw level. Now you can of course do this manually by just selecting the background. As I show you guys all the time in my videos, I build these into a speed mask preset like I do in Elegance, because that way you can just turn it up or down, and all the settings go along with it. Here, we're enhancing the keying of the background in post. So as we push this up, it's darkening the background, and as we pull it down, it's going more back to that raw state. So is it wrong to key the background in post? No, that can be a good technique. So why then even bother with a flash? Well, because the look is completely different. By the time I edited this and ran actions and all that, I have this nice separation. It's not a crazy separation between the front and the back, but typically, when you key the background, you're going to want probably 2/3 to a stop and a half of separation between the subject and the background. This isn't a rule. If you're in the studio, you might want the background to be brighter. You might want them to be the same. The key in keying the background is you're balancing your background where you want it and how it relates to your main light or your key light. If I go to this photo here, which is much more dark and shadowy and abstract, I still like it, but the key light is behind. If I had wanted to make this a traditional portrait, I would have needed to punch a bunch of flash into the front like I did on the family portrait. But I just liked this because it's kind of keyed in reverse. Okay, but let's look at practical examples of keying for the background using flash or natural light. Look at this photo here. It looks decent, but the flash didn't fire on this one, even though I was shooting this session with flash. That happens fairly often. This is how it looked raw out of camera. So notice that the background actually has more light than the subject. And in this case, because I kind of liked the photo, I worked it and fixed it a little in post and used layers and masks and presets and things to darken the background and pop the subject. But now look at this one. This is the same set, the same photos, but the flash fired this time. Notice how it's a completely different look. Now the model is being spotlighted. If I reset this, you can see that yes, I've still done some masking. I've still done a preset on it and some color grading and separation, but there's a lot more pop on how the light hits this one. And then the final version, after I did some glow and actions and things like that, is this fully refined version. Now, the best way with any photo is to get it right in camera, not to have it be an accident that you're fixing after. So a key light doesn't have to be a flash, but it can be. A key light doesn't have to be from a big softbox. It could be from a bare bulb. It could be from the light shining through the tree or through a window. Let's look at another one where we had flash. You can see we have a nice gentle flash hitting the face. We have nice catch lights and a little bit of separation from this door behind her. Even if I reset the photo, while sure, it's been refined, the light is really right there. Now, there's not a huge difference in the light between the subject and the background, but there is just that little bit of spotlight. This was done with just the small diffuser on an 8200, just spotlighting the face a little bit. But again, we're keying the subject, we're key lighting the subject for the background. So what do you want the background to be? Now, I should mention that a real traditionalist would use a light meter, right? Like in the studio, where you can meter for the subject, meter for the background, get the exact ratio you want. These are kind of things we talk about in other workshops, but in its basic sense, what I want to focus on today is that you understand the tonality. One way to do this in the field, if you're using flash, is actually just go to manual and adjust your settings until the background has the level of darkness, right? Oh, the sky, the trees, the park bench, those are as dark as I want. Then you turn up your flash until your subject is as light as you want, because those things behind are going to be fading into obscurity, whereas the subject is going to pop. You're just creating separation using shadow combined with that light. Again, this goes back to the principles we talk about a lot in my shadow hackers workshops. You see contrast, you see objects because of the shadow that surrounds them. Now look at this one here. In this case, my key light was just the late afternoon sun. And so the sun was not hitting the trees and the texture behind, allowing it to be multiple stops darker, and it was spotlighting my model. If I reset the raw file on this, you see that it has that really dark sunlight. This is where something like using the color, like drop color, comes in, because in drop color, we're gonna pull down those often overpushed oranges that exist in digital and pull down the greens and things like that. There's a video here on the channel about drop color. But it's important to understand that as you're keying for the background, as you're keying your subject, the whole goal is to make whatever your subject is be primary, be dominant in the scene. So all eyes are on the subject. I see this kind of thing a lot when people are posting to groups asking for feedback. It's a nice portrait, and I could push up the brightness of the subject and make it good, right? But look what's happening. We're brightening everything. Now the background, the things going on in the sky, kind of start becoming distractions from the subject. Now, we just looked at how we could use masks. Could we save a photo like this? Yes, and this is what I tell people that do a family portrait and there's this glaring sunlight behind. If you shot raw, you can probably save it. Another reason to always shoot raw, by doing masks and keying for the background. But keying for the background with masks should be done because you intentionally shot the photo that way and now you're just refining it with your edit. It's less ideal when you have to key for the background with masks because you did it wrong. Let's put the AI mask on and darken that background way down. And now let's tone down our white balance a little bit. Okay, boom. Look at this. Now we're toning down that background and our subject looks pretty good. So we went from here, where the background is substantially lighter than the subject's face and there's not a lot of synergy between them, to here where there's a balance. But here's the thing. Just a minute before, we had nice golden sunlight on this model, which is why I wasn't using a flash. Completely different vibe. Now we can still do the same thing and add a background fader and darken it to give more pop, but notice how the difference in key light completely changes the scene. I like the golden sunset feel of this. Now, if you compare both of these key lit naturally, this one here on the left, we can see it's much darker and shadowier and the natural sunlight was only lighting the model, whereas on the right, we just kind of had this overall sunset scene. And then again, coming back, flash example like this, where on the left, we have a flash, and on the right, we have no flash. But the exact same principles apply. Here, we have a softbox shooting from the front, and you can see we have a little hair light coming in. We have a nice main light here for the key light, and that's keying down the background about a stop and a half. So even though this is a fairly traditional looking portrait, we're getting this nice clean pop from the background. And what's that do? Well, we're taking photos of the three-dimensional world and converting them into the two-dimensional plane. The way we control that, as well as control distractions and make sure the subject is the subject, is by creating that depth with shadow and key lighting and keying for the background. So in summary, what do you do to key for the background? You look at your subject and where you want the tone of your subject to be, and you look at your background, whatever it is, and think about what you want the tone of that to be. Then you decide how you want to get there. It can be by putting a flash on the camera to light the subject and thereby darken the exposure of the background, either manually or through TTL, like you might do, for example, at a wedding reception. It can be by spotlighting the subject with a ray of sunlight, or just the way the light's coming through the trees, or the way the light is bouncing off that white concrete wall over there. You can also key that way. And yes, it can also be in post, where you just darken the background or burn it down a little bit with a mask or with burn and dodge. And this works well, but it works the best if that was your plan to begin with. Let's say you had a nice, soft, overcast, softbox day kind of light, and you're like, no, I just want to create a little contrast pop by burning the background down. That's perfectly suitable. But if you go out and you shoot a family portrait in bright sunlight, and the background's bright and all these specular shadows and highlights, and there's shadows on the people's faces, you're just going to be fighting that. Yes, you can recover a lot of that if you shot raw with presets or recipes or shadows or highlights or masks, but it's never going to be the same as if you did it right. So that method of using these to save the photos, yes, it can be useful, but always try and get your key lighting in camera and key your background for where you want it to make your subject pop and be absolutely beautiful. I hope this came through simply enough that I didn't overcomplicate or undercomplicate it, and that you guys get something from this. If you do, hit that like, subscribe button, leave a comment, let me know what you think. Maybe you think I'm crazy. That's okay too. A lot of people do. We'll see you next time. I am Gavin Seim.